teach honestly, directly, not having to do with her behavior so that she feels shame and blame and guilt, but rather teach the skill, because honesty is a skill. And any skill, right, having the courage to say the truth even when it might be uncomfortable, because when we're little, it's scary. What if mom's really mad at me? Having that courage is a skill. Every skill can be learned. We can teach a child a skill, but the worst time to teach a child a skill is when we're reprimanding them, right? How dare you lie to me? Don't you know that honesty is important? All the child hears is, you are a bad person and I might love you a little less and that's really bad, feel shame. The child doesn't hear, oh wow, my mom values honesty and wants me to be honest. If you want to teach your kid about honesty, teach your kid about honesty. I'm Dr. Robin Koslowitz, YouTube's post-traumatic parenting expert. I am here with another Reddit thread if you want to get a clinical child psychologist take on common parenting dilemmas. So I just caught my daughter in her first deliberate lie. And this is from the child 4 to 9 years. This is a 6-year-old child. And the mom is absolutely shocked that she caught her daughter lying. So let's talk about children lying, what it means, what to do about it, and why your kid's lying is actually good news and tells you something important about their development. But first, if you've caught your kid lying, if it worries you, if you're not sure how you would handle lying, if perhaps you know what you don't want to do, you know how your parents would have handled it and it wouldn't have been great, or you don't have that internal working model of how to handle this properly, click subscribe below so you never miss another episode and you can learn the post-traumatic parenting way of handling lying. Wondering if I could have handled this better. The very act itself isn't a big deal, but her sneakiness was a bit concerning. We were heading upstairs for bedtime and I saw my almost 6-year-old daughter, in other words 5-year-old, run into her room and close the door, and she said I wasn't allowed to come in. When she came out, she was acting really sheepish. She's had some episodes of bathroom accidents at school once in a while, so I asked her if she had an accident, and she took a second and then said, yeah, I thought maybe I had an accident, I was checking my undies. But there was no accident, so we moved on. 30 minutes later, after bath time, we're about to tuck her in and we discovered that she had hidden a coloring book and markers under her covers. So that's what actually happened. She snuck activities into her room for herself to work on after we said goodnight. It was kind of funny. We weren't mad. We said she could do her coloring in the morning and took them out of the room. But then she had a small meltdown, both because she was embarrassed and also because she was disappointed in not being able to follow through with her little plan. The coloring isn't such a big deal, but I'm concerned about how sneaky she was about this. How do I get through to her that hiding secrets like that and deceiving us isn't okay? All right, so much to unpack here. So first of all, why do I say lying is actually a good thing? So it's not that lying is a good thing. I value honesty, as I'm sure most parents do. It's one of those, virtues that we want our children to develop. Of course, we want them to value honesty and to tell the truth. But the fact that a child goes through a phase of lying means it's actually an indicator that they have really good social and intersubjective skills. What do I mean by that? In order to lie, you need to put yourself into the brain of the other person and think about what they are likely thinking. So when a child is very young, they don't understand that they and their parent see the world differently. If you ever see like a 2-year-old and they put like maybe a 3-year-old, they put like let's say green sunglasses on, they say, I turned the world green, because if I see it as green, then the world must be green now. They don't understand that if I'm wearing green sunglasses, the world appears green to me, but if you are not wearing green sunglasses, the world does not appear green to you. They don't understand that because they don't understand that we can have different viewpoints and that we can see things differently. Now, we want them to develop what we call intersubjective skills. We want them to be able to see things through another person's viewpoint. That's actually the underpinning of empathy. right? I care about someone else because I can imagine how they might feel. And what we're looking for is for a child to be able to develop something we call theory of mind. Theory of mind is understanding that my mom's mind or anybody's mind is different from my mind. So if I have a child, and there's a famous experiment that does this, where you have a child and you put them in a room and you say to them and you show them a box that's full, it has pictures of, animal crackers, has pictures of, let's say, pretzels all over it. And you say to the child, what do you think is in this box? The child's going to say pretzels, right? Because it's a picture of pretzels. Maybe they're old enough to read the word pretzel, or they see the P. And then you open the box and there is indeed pretzels in the box. So then you take out another box and then you say to the child, and then you take out another box that looks just like the first box. It has a picture of pretzels on the cover, and you open it up and you show the child that, whoops, there aren't pretzels in the box. There's a teddy bear in the box. That's so funny. The box says pretzels and it has a picture of pretzels, but inside there's a teddy bear. Then you close the box up and you ask the child, if your mom comes in right now, your mom has not been in the room, she's in the waiting room. If your mom comes in right now, what is she going to think is in the box? Is she going to think it's a teddy bear or pretzels? A 3-year-old who doesn't have enough theory of mind skills yet is going to say, my mom is going to think there's a teddy bear in the box. Why? Because if I know there's a teddy bear in the box, I'm smart, but my mom's even smarter. She knows much more than me. Then she for sure knows there's a teddy bear in the box. So the 2 or 3-year-old is going to say a teddy bear. By the time a kid is school age, 5 or 6, they're going to think and they're going to say pretzels. Why? My mom doesn't know what I know. She's going to look at a box that says pretzels and has a picture of pretzels on the cover, and her expectation is going to be that there are pretzels in the pretzel box. Because the 6-year-old has theory of mind. She understands that mom has not seen what I've seen. Mom does not know what I know. Mom has her reality. I have my reality. They're adjacent, but they're not the same thing. When I know that other humans exist in an independent reality outside of my own, adjacent to my own, but outside of my own, I am starting to develop the building blocks of empathy. Because if I see my friend fall down on the playground, I can think, oh, wow, that looked like it hurt. If that would happen to me, that would hurt. I need to go, what would I want if that happened to me? I would want my friend to go over and say, are you okay? Can I help? Should I get the teacher? And from that, the child runs over and says, oh my gosh, are you okay? You're bleeding. Let me run get the teacher. That's empathy. And if my child is kind enough to do that, I'm going to be very proud. That same skill, that theory of mind and intersubjectivity skill, reading another person's mind, being able to put yourself in other people's shoes, having that empathy, that's what let your daughter lie. Because she was able to read your mind and she was able to say, what does my mom think happened right now? She thinks I might have had an accident. So I know I am going to tell her that I might have had an accident because that's what I want mom to think, so that she doesn't realize that I'm doing this terrible thing of bringing a coloring book into my bedroom, right? I'm trying to read mom's mind, and I know that mom exists in an independent reality outside of my own that is adjacent to my own. So I can therefore read mom's mind and understand what she might think. That's amazing, because if the kid can do that, she can also learn empathy. Now let's go to the lying part. So what do we do in a situation like this? We sit down with the kid and we say, I get it. I get it. You really don't like laying there in bed. You want to color in bed. That makes a lot of sense. And you put on your problem-solving thinking cap and you thought, what should I do? I don't like being bored when I lay in bed. I think I want to put a coloring book and a flashlight in my bed so that I don't have to be bored. So did you do anything wrong when you had that thought, I don't like going to bed? Nope. You're allowed to think I don't like going to bed. Sometimes I think I don't like going to bed. Usually I think, please let me go to bed right now. But sometimes I don't like going to bed. Sometimes I mindlessly scroll my phone. So what you did, that makes a lot of sense. You thought, what if I'm bored in bed tonight? Then you used really good problem solving skills. I know, I have a solution. But then you made a mistake. Because if you don't like feeling bored in bed, and if you want to use a solution like that, You don't have to lie. You can say this to me. You can say, Mom, I don't like laying there bored in bed. Can I color in my bed for a little bit to calm myself down and help me fall asleep? And I might say to you, that sounds like a great idea. Let's try that. We're going to set a timer, and you're going to get into bed and get all cozy. Then for 10 minutes, you can color, because it sounds like coloring is a soothing, calming activity for you. And you're going to slowly but surely calm down and wind down, because your brain and body is telling you that you need more winding down time. You can always tell me that and ask me for help when you have a problem. You don't have to lie to me, because I am your parent and I will always hear you out. Now, I might not agree with you. I might say to you, no, I don't want you to color in your bed, because you don't realize this, but markers have ink in them, and ink can stain your sheets. I don't want a marker on your sheets, because I want your sheets to stay nice and pretty, because we picked them out together and they're so pretty. So I don't know if coloring with markers in your bed makes sense, or maybe I'll tell you have to use crayons, or maybe I think it's going to keep you up, so I'll come up with another plan. But I am not just going to say to you, tough nugs, too bad. You don't like going to bed, too bad. I'm going to help you solve your problem. So the smartest thing to do always is to discuss your problems with me, because then I can help you solve them, because I'm your mom and I care about you and I want to help you solve them. You see how I didn't go into the shaming and blaming about the lying. I didn't say, now I don't trust you and honesty is important and you've broken my trust in you. I didn't have to say any of those things. I simply am pointing out that there's a smarter way to solve problems, which is recruit me, your parent, in your problem solving. Implicit in that is don't lie, right? You don't have to do anything about lying right now. Now, because I think right now I would want her to feel validated about the bedtime concern. Let's come up with a plan, because actually, honestly, when I have a parent who tells me their kid is reluctant at bedtime, one of the techniques I teach the parent to do is a bedtime coping kit, a variety of activities the child can do on their own in bed to help their body regulate into sleep. Sometimes that's having one of those, like, night sounds projectors where it like projects like fish swimming across the ceiling while it has calming noises. There are some wonderful plushies that I'm actually going to be reviewing soon on my channel, like night buddies that you can cuddle and hug, and their eyes glow a little bit, and you can use them to soothe yourself to sleep. There are, MP3 players with books on them, so you can listen to a bedtime story on your own as you're falling asleep. There are meditations. Headspace has some sleepy time meditations that kids can listen to. There are a lot of options, and sometimes, a coloring book. There are those no mess coloring books that, the marker only colors on the book and it won't stain a sheet. There are a lot of options. So it's literally a technique. Your kid's smart. Your kid is wise and perhaps a future child psychologist, because that is actually a technique that I recommend for children who can't fall asleep easily. And she thought of it on her own. So yay, your daughter, she's bright in thinking of a solution. She needs to know now that she can include you in her problem solving, in her solutionizing. You are a resource. It's so silly not to use the resource that is mom and that is dad, because you have that option at all times. Way later, like days later, if you really want to talk to her about honesty and you really want to talk to her about, about telling people the truth, there are a lot of picture books about honesty and about mild deceptions. You could think of a book like Lily's Purple Plastic Purse, which actually isn't about honesty, but it's about repair, about saying I'm sorry and making it up to people when you've done something to hurt them. There are fantastic books where in the book the character lies and it's not the best way to handle things. And you can read books like that with your daughter. And then you can talk about this idea about honesty and how sometimes it's hard to tell the truth, right? Like if I knock over something and I break it, I'm scared, what if you'll be mad? And then we can talk about it. Yeah, well, what if I'll be mad? So maybe temporarily my emotions will get a little big. And then I will handle them, and I'll talk about it. Do you think I'll stop loving you? Do you think I'll get so mad that I'll do something to hurt you? Now, if validly speaking, that's an option, like if validly speaking, you sometimes get so mad that you hurt them, then that's a whole different thing, and that's the ouch for the mom, because that's the feedback for the mom. I can't tell you the truth, because when I tell you the truth, you yell. Ooh, yeah. So then that means mom has to think hard about how she's managing her big emotions. Sometimes we have an open and honest conversation with our kid, and the feedback that we get, like, well, feedback is the recipe for how to be my friend, but sometimes feedback hurts. So we're gonna, have that conversation, but the idea is way later, because these are 3 separate issues. Number 1, lying. Doesn't say anything about your kid other than she's developing appropriately. This is the age that lying starts. About 4.5 through about 6 are the ages, because that's when they have the theory of mind skills to predict your brain and know what you want to hear or how you're seeing the world. So good news, she's on track with her social and emotional and psychological development, number 1. Number 2, she's trying to problem solve, so you need to teach her that the best way to problem solve is problem solve with me. Let me help you solve the problem. I can think of other ideas. I didn't know that you're dreading your bed so much. Let's come up with a plan, right? That's problem number 2, right? I want you to engage in problem solving. This is good. Right, so that's a separate. These are separate things that we're talking about. And the third thing is, how do I teach honesty? Don't teach honesty through a situation like this. Proactively teach honesty by reading. There are plenty of picture books where a character lies and then tries to cover up the lie, and then that's a problem. I can even think of, there's a picture book, I think it's by Maurice Sendak, where the little bear is left home and makes popcorn without permission, and then and then eats all the popcorn, so the parents don't realize, and then the parents come home and they say, like, oh wow, you did so good, and you were so responsible staying home alone, so we brought you a gift, here's some popcorn, right? So the idea that, like, yeah, sometimes lying, deceiving isn't the greatest plan. I'm sure there are other picture books. If you want to comment below with a picture book in which a child is deceptive, whether they lie actively or they lie by omission, and then that sort of gets them into trouble and it wasn't the smartest thing they could have done, then do me a favor, comment that below. But there are a lot of picture books like that. If you Google it, you're going to find like 20. Have that, so read those books and then talk to the child. Why do you think she lied to her mom? Was that the best way to handle the situation? What would have been a better way to handle the situation? What do you think? Talk about people who are honest, people who, said the truth and paid the price for it, and that was hard. Teach honestly, directly, not having to do with her behavior so that she feels shame and blame and guilt, but rather teach the skill, because honesty is a skill. And any skill, right, having the courage to say the truth even when it might be uncomfortable, because when we're little, it's scary. What if mom's really mad at me? Having that courage is a skill. Every skill can be learned. We can teach a child a skill, but the worst time to teach a child a skill is when we're reprimanding them, right? How dare you lie to me? Don't you know that honesty is important? All the child hears is, you are a bad person and I might love you a little less, and that's really bad. Feel shame. The child doesn't hear, oh wow, my mom values honesty and wants me to be honest. If you want to teach your kid about honesty, teach your kid about honesty. Go right ahead. This is not a situation that needs to be punished, consequenced. This is not an indicator that your child is a future sociopath, psychopath, politician, right? That's not what's going on here. Your kid is developing entirely normally. What's going on is actually good normative development. But if you want to teach honesty. Completely separate from this conversation. If your kid's really bright, she's going to make the connection anyway. If she doesn't, she doesn't. If she does, she does. You want to teach honesty, teach honesty. If you want to talk to her about her problem-solving skills, talk to her about her problem-solving skills. But do not worry that she's growing up to be a politician. Do not worry that she's growing up to be a sociopath, a psychopath, somebody who's going to be indicted for embezzlement. She is actually, this is an indicator that her psychosocial development is precisely on par, and she is going to be able to have the social skills that will one day become empathy if you parent her in a kind, responsive fashion where she learns to be empathic. I hope this allayed your fears. If you have a different take on this, if you think I'm totally wrong and that the kid needs to be punished or consequence, I don't believe in punishment, like, so spoiler alert, you're not going to persuade me of that. But please feel free to comment below so that we can discuss it. If you are a post-traumatic parent and you really felt that this was helpful because you're trying to develop your discernment about how to parent, then please click subscribe below so you don't miss another episode. Please tell just one friend about the Post-Traumatic Parenting Project, about the Post-Traumatic Parenting YouTube channel. You can check out the Post-Traumatic Parenting Podcast, available wherever you get your podcasts. And if you want to hang out where the Post-Traumatic Parenting community hangs out, check out @Dr. Consulate Psychology on Instagram. That's where we hang out, and that's where we can have more of an interactive conversation. Until next time.